Hello everybody, Jonathan here and welcome back to a brand new video. So this video is coming off the back of the last one that got uploaded, which was my double bill of the AVP movies, which I'm glad to say are over and done with. Not so much the first one, because I do somewhat enjoy that movie for what it is. I just really hate that second movie, which I was not shy about sharing in that last video. So I'm going to stick to my guns. At the end of that, I told you which ones I was going to be reviewing next, and I've got them next to me. So for those people that are coming into this video that don't know what's going on, I'm going to be reviewing two movies out of my collection in every video that I upload in this series, which whatever it may end up being called. I'm going to leave that for you guys, so have a little bit of fun, and give me your thoughts on what you think this series should be called, and I'll pick something out of the hat somewhere down the line. But like I said, for those people that are just coming into this without knowing what's going on, I'm going to be reviewing the Andromeda Strain from 1972. I think it was 1972, and 1998 American History X with Eddie Furlong and Ed Norton. So excuse me, sorry, I've just literally had some food. I thought I'd better get it eaten before it went cold, because it's taken me too long to get this take sorted. Right, so I've got the Andromeda Strain already in there, so that's going to be the first one that I'm going to be watching. So let's crack on and get this watched.
Precisely, Senator. What do we do?
Alright everybody, so that is the Andromeda Strain watched, and I've had a really great time with that movie. I've forgotten how good it is regarding its subject and how it is handled. So before we go into the review, we'll do that a little bit later on after the next movie that I've watched. I've got the next one organised, which is American History X, as you know from before. So I've got it all set up in the PlayStation, so let's go ahead and get this film watched.
as surely they will be by the better angels of our nature.
Okay, everyone, so that was American History X watched, and what a great movie that is. I like the Andromeda Strain. I completely forget how good these films are because I don't put myself in the right frame of mind to watch them. But now that I've got a reason to go through these movies that I've actually got, not that I'm saying I haven't seen every single one of them, but they all have some sort of a place there. But it's nice to go back to these to movies, to films like this. This is American History X isn't a movie; it's a film. It's an art. It's an art. But anyway, so so those are the two films watched. So let's go over that away and pick up where we are about to leave off and review these movies. Okay, everybody, so here we are at the reviews portion of this video. So I'm going to start with the Andromeda Strain. What did I think of it? I thought it was pretty damn good, if I have to be really honest with you. I do. I really do think it was worth picking up and watching. It's not the first time I've seen it. I've seen it a couple of times, and every time I've watched it, I've been very impressed with it. Either way, I remember the first time watching this. It was one of the first movies that I bought when I started uploading onto YouTube. Actually, I told my boss about it, and he'd asked me, was the magic still there? And I didn't quite know what he meant by that. But when I've come into it this time around, which is the third time that I've watched it since I picked it up all those years, since I picked it up 2 years ago, I can honestly say I know what he means now. I can honestly say that I know what he means. With that question, it holds its magic. You know, it's one of those films to me that kind of paved the way for a different type of science fiction movie that didn't need an alien. It didn't need any creatures. It just needed drama attached to it, and that's what it does exceptionally well here. Now, I really like Michael Crichton, as not just for his movies but for his novels as well. I have read this book, so I kind of know a little bit about the history behind the story and about the characters. But I read this book a long time ago, and I mean, I'm talking a good 20 years ago or something like that. And you know, I don't know much about the cast of the film. The only person that I do know out of it is the younger gentleman out of them all that ended up playing Colonel. Was it Jack Kirby? Franklin Kirby in Commando, the Arnold Schwarzenegger classic movie. He was the general for those fans that for those Arnold Schwarzenegger movie fans. He was great in the movie. They were all fantastic in the movie, but I don't really know an awful lot about those actors to be able to give you a really good synopsis on them as a whole for the film. But they did really well with what they had given to them, and in terms of what they actually brought to the film in terms of its screenplay and script. I felt that that this actually took a reasonably new direction in the way that actors went through their script, instead of being very quick fire like a lot of older movies are, like from the 60s and the 50s, where the script is very tight and spoken very quickly. Everybody jumps in as soon as the last line has been delivered. That doesn't happen in this movie. Everyone, and I think that is due to the fact that they don't know what they're dealing with. They don't know what they're dealing with this movie, because it's about some kind of virus that has accidentally gotten into the heat shield of a rocket in space, and these people have been brought together to try and figure out how this thing works and what its purpose is, and if they can try and contain it, even kill it at the same time. Basically told you about what's going to happen in the movie, but you really must watch this movie, because it's not really about the story. It's about how everything kind of comes together. It's very different for its time, and quite ahead. It was very much ahead of its time, to be honest with you. And you do actually see that in quite a lot of Michael Crichton's books, let alone his movies. You had Westworld, which was from 1974. That was ahead of its time, and that's just recently got its third series in from this year. It's been adapted like the Andromeda Strain was, and to see that a lot of his works are being adapted into TV series is a really good thing, because you can do a lot with Michael's work because of the science behind it. But getting back to the Andromeda Strain, it's very, very well paced. It's a very quick movie. It does have a 2-hour run time, but it's quite a fast one, and you don't realise that this is actually a 2-hour film. Like I've just said, it's quite a fast paced movie, given the fact that there isn't really any action sequences in it. It's pure drama, but it really brings you in, and it tells a really good story. So I don't know whether there's anything more I can actually talk about really with this film. Now, in terms of any negatives that I could possibly give it, I don't think there will be many. I don't think I could give any negatives to this film, to be honest. But I'm not going to give it a perfect score by any means, because there are maybe. I would just be nitpicking if I just said these specific ones, but there's really no need to. But I'm gonna, and I know that doesn't really make any sense, because there is really no plot holes in this film. It's one of those films that tells a very simple story. It's a very simple story told effectively, and it's told effectively by very good actors that actually know what they're doing. So I think with that in mind, I'm going to give the Andromeda Strain a 9 out of 10. So moving on to American History X. Man. I forget how powerful this film. I really forget how powerful this movie is. I really do, guys. Um, Everybody in this film is absolutely phenomenal. Ed Norton is this movie. He really, really is. Edward Norton, hats off to you, bro. You, oh, man, honestly. But I've got the credit that I've got to give Ed Norton for was his rewrites for the film, especially that dinner scene. There's always one scene in a film that really does take you out, takes you, that really gives. There's always one scene in a film, whether it's good or bad, that really knocks you for six. And that dinner scene, which is one of the flashbacks, which I'll get to fairly soon with the visual styles. I'll get to that in a minute. With its visual styles, is so beautifully acted. Ed Norton, he rewrote a lot of his script to attempt something that you could say hadn't been done before, and he just knocked it out of the park. I mean, that dinner scene is it's so powerful. You don't expect it. And for at the time, Ed Norton wasn't exactly. Well, I'm saying he wasn't a huge name. He was a big name in Hollywood. But this was the film that really put him up there with the heavyweights. Obviously, he did Fight Club. I think that was the year before. I think it was it '97 Fight Club. I'm not 100% on that. Could have been 90, 96, 90. 97, something like that. But anyway, but this was the film that really put Ed Norton on the map, not including Fight Club, of course. But what a roller coaster of a film that is. I mean, it really does put quite a perspective on what goes on in everyday life, with regards to race hate and political correctness. It's pretty solid in that department. It does have a very powerful message attached to it, and it's great to see that somebody like I can't remember the name of the director, but it's great to see a film that has got balls. It's got balls to actually put stuff like this out as a film medium. The race hate in this film is absolutely, you could say, it's really through the roof. I mean, it's borderline. It's borderline. It's borderline unnecessary, but like I said, it just sends a message out to everyone. Why do we need to do this? And that's what the whole film's all about. That's what the whole thing with this film is about. It jumps between what is right and what is wrong in the world, in a world, not just at that time, but also in today's society. Now, I'm not going to go into that, because I know that is going to cause a bit of a stir, because that is not going on at the current moment with what is going on with this whole COVID-19 thing. I'm not going to go into that. Not going to go into that. I've brought it up a couple too many times in my videos, in my recent videos. But that's within reason. But there's no reason for me to cover that. There's no reason for me to compare that with American History X, and the subjects that's trying to cover. You get what I mean? Anyway, you get what I mean. But yeah, well, with regards to everybody else in the film, actors wise, I mean, you've got Eddie Furlong again. I just is Eddie Furlong should be one of the heavyweights of Hollywood, and it's just a real shame that he took a bit of a downturn with all of the shit that he brought to himself in recent years. It is a shame, and I have seen a couple of interviews with him, and he is very sorry for all of the stuff that he's done, and I get it. You know, you're even though you've been through all of your shit, Eddie, I've got to say, I've got a lot of respect for you. I do, I really do. As an actor though, you should be up there with everybody. You should be up there with the heavyweights, because you were a very talented actor. You're a very talented actor, and this film really proves that you've got what it takes to be up there with them. I just think his performance in the film, alongside Ed Norton, was just perfect. It's the perfect cast in my mind, especially for that time as well. Eddie would have learned a lot from Ed. It's weird. It's weird having two actors who were both called Edward in a film. What was I saying? Oh man, right. Yeah. But like, yeah. Getting on to the visuals, so getting onto the visual style of this film. One of the things that really did catch me off guard the first time that I saw this was how they utilised the use of the black and white when it came to the flashbacks. I thought that was a really, really nice touch. It was a really nice way, well, a really good way of telling people that the past is being told like this in black and white, because to me that's how it should be. You know, you don't have, I mean, I know it's not absolutely necessary to tell a story that jumps between past and present, but you do need to separate what is present and what is past and what is future at the same time, because otherwise it's difficult to follow in certain cases, and you would definitely have trouble figuring out what was past and present in this movie if that hadn't been done. So I really do have to give the director real credit for making the film the way that he did, because it was just it's brilliant. It's a brilliant idea. But as I said, like Andromeda Strain, I don't have any negatives for this film yet again. Oh dear. Again, there's nothing. I couldn't possibly put my finger on any negatives at all. There's no loopholes. There's no questions surrounding anything. Everything just comes up to a brilliant conclusion, which really saddens me, because again, I'm saying again. I didn't actually mention this in the Andromeda Strain, but it always gives you, that film gave you a what if scenario at the end of the film, and I'm not going to go back to that. But American History X, did something that catches you off guard. You don't expect it. You can't. There's something that you can sense that there is something looming, but you don't exactly know what it is. And I mean, there are clues as to something is going to happen, but you just don't. You're thinking that it's not going to happen, and then all of a sudden it does, and it hits you like a ton of bricks. It hits you like a ton of bricks, which is just like Ed Norton's performance in this film. I mean, what he did in this film was just absolutely unbelievable, and to be able to portray two completely different sides of the spectrum and pull it off is an absolute is just genius. Which is why I really admire Ed Norton for a lot of his work, even though a lot of people will disagree with me. Some people will disagree with me on that with regards to some movies that he's done. Incredible Hulk is one. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to round this up. I'm going to round this one up now, everybody. American History X, I can honestly say it's an excellent movie, and there won't be many of you guys out there that will disagree with me. I wouldn't have thought. If there is, feel free to let me know in the comments what you thought of the film, as I'm going to ask you about the Andromeda Strain. So I'm going to give American History X the same score as I did the Andromeda Strain, a 9 out of 10. So everybody, that brings us to the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed this episode of this new series that I'm thinking that I'm going to be continuing on with. Now I've got an idea for you guys. I've got a bunch of movies here that I'm going to put into a card, which will be popping up somewhere up here, of a list of movies with the A's from the A to Z's, because as I mentioned in the last video, I'm going through these alphabetically, but that is not including the box sets. I'm going to get to those after I've done my A to Z's. So have a look at what is in the card. Have a look at what is in the cards. Whichever one you vote for the most, whichever two are the most, get the most votes, I will watch it next time. Okay. If that doesn't quite work out by Monday or Tuesday, I'll simply pull everything into a hat, and I'll pick two out of there quite easily. But until then, guys, that is it for this video. So if you liked it, make sure to hit that like button. If you want to subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell notification to get updated when my next videos are released. And feel free to talk between yourselves about the two movies in the comments section. And thank you very much for your time. So this is me, Trekflix, signing off.